Hi, everyone. Welcome to another installment of TSF Reviews. Today we are reviewing Money Heist. And we've got a professor and we've got one of the heisters right here with us. So let's kick it off. So I watched the last episode today, finally.
Hey.
And I need to discuss what were your final thoughts, Suhaib and Mubarak.
So you first.
Okay. Okay. As a whole, if you talk about part two, I personally think it was better than part one. More highlights, more scenes, more memorable scenes rather than part one. Part one had like mainly being the Tokyo's death was the main part of it, but part two had more memorable scenes, but still the end I'm not entirely happy with. I'll be very honest. It was too easy, especially for the level of intricity we have come to like about this show. There were good twists, especially about the gold going upstream rather than the downstream one, and it was good. But the ending was too easy for me. Mubarak.
Yeah, I feel like see that level of sophistication that we're talking about with the professor, where he takes care of all the angles. He was sloppy in this part two. In part one, he was still decent, but part two, it feels like they lowered him down. And then the ending, it was just way too easy. That's it. Everyone just gets passports and they live their new life. Personally, I feel that there should have been a little more depth, a little more weight, a little more consequence. Like they come out, I don't know if they get all the gold or not, but there should have been weight with that. Like that feeling of regret and pain that we felt at the end of the first one, the first heist with Berlin's death. He was a decent character. I feel that they could have done something in this as well. Like, to be honest, I prefer if it was only Rio and Denver who came out alive and then everyone died, or everyone from the original crew, the original first heist, everyone from that dies. That would be a nice way to end this. Yumna, what do you think?
Okay, so my only question watching the finale is why wouldn't the police keep looking for the gold? Why? Just because the professor goes like, it's not going to come back to you, they just accepted that. They could have been like, fine, you're good to go, you're free to go. But wouldn't they still want to keep tabs on them somehow, or silently keep looking for the gold somehow, try to get it back? And the thing is, okay, I know that Tamayo probably cannot tell the police the gold is missing, because then it would go all haywire, right? Then it would spread somehow, and then it'd be like, oh shit, they don't actually have the gold. But I still feel like he could have hired like a special intelligence team who could have tried to figure out what the gold was. This is going to be a state secret, I know, but it was just weird how he just let go of it very easily. That's like 90 tons of gold. That's like 90,000 kilograms of gold you're talking about there. You can't accept it that easily. You can't just let go. I know like he put up a good fight, and I would say realistically speaking, like all of the season part one and part two were really good regarding the military intervening, the whole Gandia thing, the whole Sagasta thing, the whole Sagasta's team putting up a fight. Tokyo died. I think after Tokyo dying, like regarding general fan base, the fan base loves Tokyo. Regarding her, I personally don't love her that much as a character, but I think she's very popular with the fan base. After that, I don't think any other death would have had much more significance unless it was the professor's death. So I think like killing off anyone else apart from Tokyo or the professor at this point wouldn't have really had an impact. And if the professor died, it would have been really bad overall. I think people would have thrown a fit. Okay, why did you kill him? Why did you end up killing him? So that's what I would personally think. But yeah, the ending was a little bit sloppy for me as well, in the sense that you have their identities. You made it for them, so you know where they're gonna go. You know where they are. You can keep tabs on them. You can still figure out where the gold is at this point. Somehow.
And one more thing.
If someone like continue.
Like one more thing, the gold, the missing gold, that they did not have the gold at that moment, that did not play out into this the entirety of the closing at all. Like, it really didn't matter to the professor's plan, like they had the gold or not. He was just playing a game for, a bluff.
Hmm.
And by the end of it, they were all free. If they had the gold or not was, regardless of that point, they were free. Okay. So they had the gold, that's a plus point to them, or Sierra, you can say whatever it was. But the point is that the twist that they did not have the gold anymore, it was stolen. It had zero consequences on the story at all.
Also, with the professor being how careful and calculated, would he not have had a early warning system that would tell him a little more in advance rather than just noticing when the police are right at the fake police in this case right at his door? Like, you'd expect this guy to have tripwires set 1 kilometer off, so at least they have some kind of contingency. It's just so weird that he just left that and he's like, no, we're gonna surrender. And that was weird. Like, he could have fought them
No,
off.
I think to be fair, the professor was having a really severe mental crisis at that point. Losing his brother, losing Berlin first, and then losing Tokyo had a really bad impact on him. And he was scared of casualties. I think like he is human in the end. Like the one realistic thing about Money Heist is that the characters are very human. Sometimes we do get annoyed by it, like Tokyo, for example, but they are very human. And the professor himself was very human, regardless of his calculations, regardless of everything he's done. I think at that point he was completely broken. He had just lost like Tokyo. The morale was low and he didn't want to risk anyone else dying for his sake or for his plan's sake or for whatever was going on. I think I accepted that. I'm like, that's a moment of weakness for him. He's allowed to have moments of weakness at some point. He was trying to stay strong for most of the series, most of the parts, most of the volumes, but I think at that point he cracked. Even like when Marsai was like telling him, don't do this, just fight them or do something. If he had listened, imagine like the gold wouldn't have been stolen from them at that point.
Yeah, but as Mubarak said, that's about the surrender part. Mubarak was mentioning like him having like contingency for him checking on the police like a couple of miles away, at least having some backup. Like they knew about the police just when they were at their doorstep. They were like entering inside. They had no idea they were coming in. So him having some cameras like behind would have been suitable. But again, these are all the ways to progress a story rather than discuss much about it. But still, again, as one thing more that as Mubarak said, the consequences that we had with the first heist, they were not there. And Berlin's death and them barely escaping at the very end, like they just escaped at the very end, and that gave them their escape a little more. You are sitting on the edge of your seat, you are like hoping that they're going to escape, but you're still engrossed into it. When this show ended, when the gunshots were heard, it was so obvious, like
It was so
like
obvious.
they're not dead, especially after Squid Game and the Baba not dying. We know that if the death is not on screen, they are not dead.
Yeah.
So it was too obvious. This ending was very easy. Maybe we over expected because we wanted this show to be smart, because it was in the past. Yeah, it was in the past. That's why. The same way, Sherlock, we have the same expectations when Sherlock comes in. Because the show has been ever really smart, we expect it to be smart in the future as well. So I think, Money Heist had that problem.
Fair enough.
So,
anything else to add, or do we move on to scores?
No, I'm contemplating a bit. I think that the consequence here was, I think for them was Tokyo dying again. I think after that, if they had to kill anyone off or even kill the whole team off, I think it would have disappointed like a lot of the fan base. And the professor did make a really bold move. I think his plan at the end was flawless. Okay, we found it like very easy and very sloppy, but if we're talking about the universe and how he did it, he said that if you do try to kill us, there's gonna be public info out there. The gold is fake, and that you've been really incriminating everyone around you. If you keep us alive, you're good, and no one will have to know. That was a really solid plan right there, because Tamayo really was at a checkmate. He realized he couldn't kill them, and he realized he couldn't really do anything at that point, because if he did, he'd be done for, and Spain would be bankrupt all over again. That was a really strong plan, but at that point they couldn't do anything. I mean, what could they have done, honestly? Like, if given in this direction, like, what else could they have possibly done after that? They lost Tokyo, and after Tokyo, I think honestly, like, her death didn't really affect me. I saw it coming. She would die at some point. I felt that she would die, and she wasn't really one of my top favorite characters. Like, for me, like, we can talk about who our favorite characters were overall after this, but I can still understand why her death was an impact, and how it like basically ended everything and began everything for them too. Her death was really key, because if she hadn't pulled those grenades, if she hadn't done that, then I think they'd be in big trouble after that. They'd be caught up in that. So so yeah. I don't mean, like, I think like it was still a good end. It wasn't too easy. It wasn't too difficult. It wasn't as good as how the first two seasons were. They were very strong. But we're still good. I think he wanted to save Rio, and all this happened because of him wanting to save Rio. And I think in the end it worked. They miraculously survived. Helsinki didn't die. I'm so happy. I liked Helsinki. But yeah.
But as we've always talked about it, it's always, anything happens in this universe, it's always because of Rio and Tokyo. So yeah,
always because of.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to scoring, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. I'm giving it a 7.5 for part 2 exclusively. Sahib?
I'll give it 7.
All right. Yamna?
Okay. I think part 1 was very strong. It was very intense, very action-packed. So was part 2. I would personally give part 1 an 8. And part 2 goes to a 7 for me. So I guess 7.
All right. Yeah, that's
What's with all the girls liking part 1 over part 2? Both our wives. Yeah, both our wives love part 1 over part 2.
Yeah.
And both of us like part 2 over part 1.
No, I like part 2. I like part 2, but part 1 was a lot more action-packed. It was a lot more intense. There was a lot of intensity in part 1, like, that really kept you going. Like, you're just watching it and you're just wondering, okay, how are they going to get out of this? It's going to happen, but how? What are they going to do? So it was very unpredictable. In part 2, you realize it's ending, and okay, I think we all saw the whole Berlin's son, like, like falling in love with Berlin's wife plot twist. I think we all saw that coming.
Yeah.
Like father, like
but
son.
Personally, I didn't see that coming, that they would attempt to like steal up the gold. I didn't see that coming. I honestly didn't. I was like, what? Okay, what? I'm like, you both are noobs. What are you doing?
No, but the way they set it up.
Berlin's son to be the last moment plot twist by the professor, he being the the last moment savior. But it turned out to be the other way around. So that was something that, I would personally say that I did not see coming.
I did assume he would be the villain, in the sense that he would probably like tell on everyone that here's the plan. So police, here's how you can stop them. Because I felt like he was really at a crossroads with the whole heist thing.
No, but he was set up to be the antagonist, even in part 1. Like, you could feel the tension between him and Berlin.
Exactly. I could sense it. And I thought that he would be the self-righteous hero. He would walk into the police and say, here's my dad's plan, and he's dead now, but here's how you can incarcerate everyone and get the gold and be safe. I didn't realize he'd just go for it himself, at the end.
Well, who doesn't like
he gave
money?
It back. And then he gave it back. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm giving it back.
But we all hate Tatiana, right?
I don't like her. Sorry. I guess I hold Berlin to a very high standard, and I thought that if he was going to be with someone, it was going to be someone very sharp and witty, and someone more like Sierra, actually, for some really weird reason. I mean, I
Mm.
don't see them both together because they're both very alpha, but someone beta, but with Sierra's qualities would have been amazing.
Yeah, and funnily enough, Sierra's husband's name was German, so Berlin, German,
Yeah, there we have it.
All
Can
right,
we
this
just say that
is
Sierra and the professor had really good chemistry? But I still prefer like the pairing with Raquel, honestly. They have like, but their chemistry was really good, even as like co-workers and friends and partners. Really good chemistry there. Really
Okay,
enjoyed it.
what's this theme with Professor turning the female officers, towards their side in every heist?
Because he's a very respectable guy. I think he's really good to them. He gives them respect and he, takes care of them like
Sam.
anyone would.
Sam.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. That works in the real world. Being a nice guy gets you a girl. Sure, I'm not
No,
sure.
it does
Yeah,
though.
well, it does. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a person of good character. One thing about Professor is his character was very consistent. I feel like everyone did lose a bit of their character, especially Berlin had a very unpredictable character vibe for me.
Mhm.
Overall, like I couldn't put a hang on his character, but the Professor was actually one of the very deep rooted characteristic ones. His characters like stuck throughout the end, no matter in what panic he was in. Like he was really good overall. He was really respectable overall. He was a really good character.
Mhm.
I mean, I like that he isn't this total alpha, overconfident, arrogant male. Like, most anime, like the protagonist who's very smart is very arrogant and he's like very confident and he's very, but I liked it was really refreshing to see someone who was very, like not an alpha male, very beta, very omega, but very intelligent, very smart, very sure of himself. Really, you don't have to be arrogant to be smart, It's just not like I like that about this portrayal of a smart character who figured everything out. It was pretty good.
On that note, there are rumors of a Berlin spin-off that is in the works, a prequel obviously to Money Heist. So let's see what happens in that. Right now it's rumors. I don't think they've confirmed it just yet.
What the problem with that?
Yeah, what's that problem?
I don't know. I mean, I would probably more be interested in a professor storyline than a Berlin one. But they've the professor storyline pretty much they kind of summed it up in a bow tie, so they don't really need to touch it. Them telling the way he got into this line of work from his father and all that, the entirety of this is pretty much wrapped up in a bow tie. They don't need to touch it.
They don't.
But
Really,
sure,
I think since it's going to be a Berlin prequel and him and the professor are siblings, he's going to be involved in it. He's going to be there in the background, or like even as a supporting character. It wouldn't make sense otherwise. I know that Berlin pulled off like 27 heists in Europe. I think they're probably going to focus on him pulling off all these heists on his own or something. But honestly, I did lose interest in Berlin's character after like season 2. I mean, he was a good character, but season like the latest season did really like reignite some interest in him again. I felt really bad for him for like how he got betrayed and how he was the bigger man. He let his son go with his wife. And then his son still became a douche and decided to steal all of his gold too. Like, I'm going to steal your woman and your loot. Let's just go with that, Dad. But yeah, I am interested. But honestly, I'm more invested in Sierra's future, in Palermo's future. A lot more. I found him very good characters.
More interested in that character. I would be more interested in Helsinki, Palermo. Both of them being a couple at the end, so that would make just one show. But Sierra's gone off into the Sierra's back stories could be fun. How
Sierra is a very interesting character.
How she got to be this badass, feelingless, torturing cop that she was at the beginning of season 4, I think.
Yeah.
Thing is, I noticed that Sierra and Tokyo had a lot of similarities. It's really weird but they had a lot of similarities. They both had that whole survivors run going on about them. And Tokyo said this one line, like when her old partner died, she said she was running away as fast as she could from the grief. And Sierra said the same thing to the professor as well, about running away so that it wouldn't catch up with her. And I realized they're both very similar, but Sierra is more calm and calculating and more strategic.
And older, more mature. Tokyo is like
Loose cannon.
younger, more loose cannon, exactly. Anyways, that's it from us. We've told you our scores one last time. I have it as a 7.5. Suhaib has it as a 7, and Yumna, you have it as a
7.
7. So that's what, a 7.25?
Yep.
Let's round it up to 7.5 just for, or let's round it down to 7. Either way,
7.5 is fine.
7.5. Yeah, I guess it's fine. Yeah. All right. That's it from us. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon too, while you can.
And how would you guys have imagined the ending to be? And who are you more invested in at this point? Please let us know in the comments below.
Yep. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Bella
Have
ciao.
a nice night.
Well, don't they say
Bella
Bella ciao?
ciao.
Or just ciao, because, ciao. See ya.
Ciao.